Everyone, in this video we're going to solve the following problem where some facts are given about three smartphones. So I've got smartphone A and everything over here maybe in aqua or the screen. So everything in green over here is about smartphone A, and the facts about smartphone A are such that it has 256 megs of RAM, 32 GB ROM, and has a resolution of 8 megapixels. And likewise, then I've got smartphone B. So everything in pink over here is smartphone B, which has 288 megs of RAM, 64 GB ROM, and has a resolution of its camera, which happens to be 4 megapixels. And then finally, I've got smartphone C, and smartphone C has the following set of facts with 128 megs of RAM, 32 GB ROM, and it has a resolution of 5 megapixels. And what I'm trying to do with this problem is I'm trying to figure out the actual truth value. And the truth value simply is, are the following statements A, B, C, D, and E, are they actually true or are they actually false here? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So let's look at part A here. So Part A here is smartphone B has the most RAM of these three smartphones. So given smartphone A, given smartphone B, and given smartphone C, does smartphone B has the most RAM? And it would only have the most RAM if the RAM for smartphone B is greater than the RAM for smartphone C, and the RAM for smartphone B is also greater than the RAM for smartphone A. And if this holds, meaning that this box over here results in true, then the truth value for part A is going to be true. So let's just put in our values here. The RAM for B happens to be 288. The RAM for C, the smartphone C has 128. Well, this is definitely great. 288 is greater than 128. And likewise, the RAM for B, which is 288, is greater than the RAM for A. And RAM for A over here happens to be 256. And this piece over here is true, meaning this is 1. Okay, I'm using 1 to indicate my truth value, or to be more simple, let's just make this T, capital T, indicating this is true. And likewise, RAM B, this inequality also is a true, and true gives you back a true for the entire outer box, which represents A. So this is true. Okay, let's look at part B here. Smartphone C has more ROM or inclusive or a higher resolution camera than smartphone B. Now, if I think about part B over here, the entire truth value for part B is going to be true when either one of them happens to be true, meaning if smartphone C has more ROM than smartphone B, if this happens to be true, then the entire truth value for part B will also be true, because I'm looking at my OR, the disjunction operator. So just to quickly recollect the truth table for the inclusive OR. Okay, so if I've got A and B, okay, and if I quickly go across all the entire permutation space for A and B, A or B is going to give you the following set of truth values for A or B. And for A or B to be true, it's true on three occasions. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So if I can get one of them acting as a true, I don't even have to check for the second one, because the entire truth value for A or B becomes true as well. So if we look at smartphone C has more ROM than B, smartphone B has a ROM of 64 GB, and C has 32 GB. 64 GB is greater than 32 GB, meaning this is also true. Okay, let's look at part C here. Smartphone B has more RAM, more ROM, and a higher resolution camera than smartphone A. Now, all I'm trying to do in this question is I'm trying to apply the conjunction. I'm trying to apply the conjunction. So if I look at C here, I'm trying to apply the conjunction where the RAM, smartphone B has more RAM, the RAM for smartphone B, and the ROM for smartphone B, and a camera, the megapixel MP for B, okay, is greater than smartphone A, meaning this is greater than the RAM for A, this is greater than the ROM for A, and this is greater than the megapixels of A. And again, keep in mind that I'm looking at the conjunction operator, so meaning this entire box. So if I put this box in pink, this pink, and the second box also in pink, and the third box also in pink, this is going to be and. Okay, so for C to be true, this box in pink must be true, and the second box in pink must be true, and the third box in pink must be true. And this actually happens to be false. The entire truth value for C happens to be false because because the camera resolution is not higher. So let's look at this. Let's look at the megapixels for what's the megapixel for camera B. Smartphone B has a resolution of 4 megapixels and A has 8 megapixels, which means that this box over here becomes false. And because it becomes false, anything when you apply the AND with a false, it's the resultant is also going to become false. Let's see. Let's look at part D here. The smartphone B has more RAM and more ROM than smartphone C, then also has a higher resolution camera. Okay, so let's look at this again. A smartphone B has more RAM. So the RAM for smartphone B. A smartphone B has more RAM and more ROM than smartphone C. Okay, so RAM for smartphone B happens to be greater than the RAM for smartphone C, and let's just put parentheses to make them a little bit clear, and I'm looking at more ROM, so the ROM for smartphone B is greater than the ROM for smartphone C, and I'm using the word if here. Okay, so that's if here. So if this holds, then, and for then I'm going to use the arrow. Okay, then it also has a higher resolution camera. Okay, so if this holds over here, then the megapixels MP for B happens to be greater than the megapixels for C. Okay, so let's see this. RAM of B is greater than RAM of C. Okay, so the RAM of B is 288 megs. This is 288. And the RAM of C, smartphone C, has 128. Okay, so 280 is definitely greater than 128. And the ROM of B in this case is 64. And the ROM of C is 32. Okay, so the hypothesis is in red, is in this red cloud here. Okay, everything in red over here is my hypothesis. This is my hypothesis. Okay, and finally everything in let's make this blue here. Everything in blue over here is my conclusion. Okay, so the hypothesis is actually true in this case. Okay, and the conclusion here is that a megapixel of B is greater than megapixels of C. Okay, so this has 4 megapixels and the camera C has 5 megapixels, which means that the conclusion is actually false. The conclusion in this case happens to be false. So if I look at my truth table, quickly for the conditional statement, okay, where A is my hypothesis, B is my conclusion. I'm looking at A, B, okay, that might be a little bit difficult to see, but let's say this is my conditional statement of A. If A, then B. 0, 0 gives you true, 0, 1 gives you 1, 1, 0 gives you 0, 1, 1 gives you 1. Okay, so what I have in this scenario is 1 and 0. I'm looking at this piece over here. Okay, so the entire validity of statement D becomes false. This is actually the entire thing is actually false. It's false because if the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false, then the entire statement, the entire compound proposition, the resultant of if A then B becomes false. And likewise, if I look at part E now, if I look at part E, smartphone A has more RAM than smartphone B if and only if smartphone B has more RAM than smartphone A. Okay, so here I have the use of the word if and only if. If we look at the word if and only if, it implies the bidirectional operator, which is the symbol over here. So what it means is smartphone A has more RAM than smartphone B. Okay, so the RAM for smartphone A is more than the RAM for smartphone B. Smartphone A has more RAM than smartphone B if and only if and only if smartphone B has more RAM than smartphone A. Okay, given the statement over here, this statement is the entire validity of part E is actually false. It's false because the first part of this biconditional statement is false and the second part happens to be true. Okay, so if I look at this first part over here, RAM A is greater than RAM B. The RAM of A, smartphone A, is greater than RAM B. RAM of A is 256, RAM of B is 288. This is definitely false. And likewise, RAM B is greater than RAM A. This happens to be true. This happens to be true. Okay, and again, looking at the truth table for the biconditional operator, when you have false and true, the entire validity of this statement becomes false as well.